The following program has been brought to you in part by Sennheiser and the Airline Pilots Association.
Coming up on the flight deck, ATC develops new language for runway construction. ALPA honors the victims of 9/11. Known crew member opens in Seattle and Minneapolis. And what to do when allergies invade the cockpit. All of this and more here on the flight deck. Hello, I'm Sharon Varab. Welcome to the flight deck. This week, air traffic control will begin using new terms to indicate when the runway has been shortened to allow for construction. This is in response to some misunderstandings about the length of the runway available for departures and landings. Now, ATC will use the word shortened immediately following the runway number during departure and landing information. These changes come at a good time as construction is ongoing at two major airports on the East Coast. Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport is currently resurfacing one of its runways, with nightly work expected to continue through next April. Boston's Logan International Airport has begun a $65 million construction project on its longest runway, 33L. The project will extend 33L's runway safety area into the Boston Harbor on a pile-supported pier and more than triple its length to 600 feet. This month marked the 10th anniversary of the horrifying attacks of September 11th. Across the United States, people gathered to honor and remember those who lost their lives that morning. This year on September 11th, more than 200 pilots, their families, and ALPA staff gathered at ALPA's own 9/11 memorial outside its Herndon offices.
This morning, at Ground Zero in New York, at memorial sites at the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania, and in a number of domiciles around the nation, pilots, flight attendants, and their families have come together to pay respect to the fallen heroes of 9/11. But I'm here to tell you today, we did not let those attacks break us. We did not let our anger, our frustration, and our discouragement defeat us. We pledged to never forget the sacrifice of our fellow pilots and flight attendants, and we recommitted to protecting our crews, the passengers, and cargo we carry from further harm.
Captain Paul Rice, former ALPA First Vice President, read the names of the pilots and crew lost that day as their planes were used as weapons against the innocent. Throughout the month of September, ALPA pilots will honor those who fell by wearing the special 9/11 ALPA pin. You can view the entire ceremony by visiting us online at www.alpa.org/neverforget9/11. This week, the Known Crew Member program expanded to two new airports, Minneapolis and Seattle. ALPA's Jen Farrell was at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport for the launch. Jen?
A little more than a month after the first known crew member screening checkpoints opened at Chicago O'Hare International Airport, a third test site became operational in Seattle. On its first day of operation at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, pilots say they're pleased with how the known crew member screening process works.
Having a known crew member open in Seattle is going to be a dream for all the Alaska pilots. Going through in about 30 seconds or so, as opposed to going through this line here, is going to make the job that much easier getting to work.
Known crew member allows TSA officers to positively verify the identity and employment status of flight crew members through web-based access to airline employee databases. A total of 7 test sites are expected to be opened during the initial phase of the program, with Minneapolis-St. Paul, Phoenix Sky Harbor, Boston Logan, and Washington Dulles airports still to come. Currently, only pilots at the 17 participating airlines are able to access the secure areas of the test airports via the dedicated known crew member checkpoints. The goal, however, is to expand the program to include both pilots and flight attendants at all carriers. A program that improves aviation security, expedites screening for verified crew members, and shortens security lines for passengers is a win for everyone. Reporting from Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, I'm Jen Sutton on the flight deck.
Thanks, Jen. Recently, the program also welcomed 3 new participating carriers, ComAir, FedEx, and Hawaiian, which brings the number of carriers in the program to 20. To find out more about the Known Crew Member program, visit www.knowncrewmember.org. On September 15th, Congress passed yet another extension, the 22nd, of the Federal Aviation Administration's funding. The continued lack of a reauthorization bill has put on hold many projects necessary to the modernization of the U.S. air traffic control system. The extension allows the FAA to continue to operate, but does not provide for enhancements to the U.S. air transportation system. During a recent press conference, Captain Lee Moak, ALPA president, described the repeated extensions as unconscionable and once again called upon Congress to provide for long-term funding of the FAA. On Monday, September 19th, the Transportation Security Administration assumed full responsibility for authorizing certified cargo screening facility applicants, eliminating third-party authorization. ALPA has repeatedly objected to the inclusion of third-party validators as it could lead to potential conflicts of interest and bring into question the entire program's integrity. Although this is a step in the right direction, ALPA continues to press for one level of security for all cargo air operations. This fall is expected to be one of the worst allergy seasons on record. When we come back, we'll learn about treating allergies in the cockpit.
From the first time I boarded a commercial plane as its pilot, I've embraced the responsibility I have to the safety of my passengers and crew. And I have the best flight gear, even the headset certified for commercial duty. It lets me concentrate on the task at hand, making this the safest flight my passengers will ever have.
The feature-packed HMEC 26 provides long-wearing comfort and more than 18 dB of noise reduction. Try the HMEC 26 on your next flight and hear the difference for yourself.
Hi, my name is Miles Miller from Fort Washington, Maryland. I'd like to ask the pilot a question. What is your favorite plane to fly?
Miles, this was absolutely my favorite question, and there is no doubt the North American T-28 Trojan was one of my most favorite aircraft to fly. The reason is very simple. I love flying aerobatics, and that was a great aerobatic aircraft. In 1983, I was one of the last 100 Navy flight instructors to fly that airplane. And if you have an opportunity to visit the Naval Air Museum in Pensacola, Florida, you'll find a T-28 there. I just wanted to let you know, I flew that aircraft the last time and parked it in Pensacola.
This year, many doctors are pointing to the warm, wet fall as a sign that allergy sufferers may be reaching for even more tissues. Ragweed pollen levels are reaching record highs, and without a good frost, this could continue well into October. Here's Dr. Snyder with some tips for treating your seasonal allergies.
Let's face it, medications to treat allergies, colds, and upper respiratory infections can be a minefield when trying to determine what you can and can't take and still be legal to fly. In addition, the pharmaceutical industry has created a whole new lexicon with many prescription drugs available, so please listen carefully. The over-the-counter non-sedating antihistamine Claritin is approved for flight use if a 2-day grounding period shows no side effects. Non-sedating antihistamines Clarinex and Allegra are authorized following a 48-hour ground test period free of side effects, and this applies to options like Allegra D, Claritin D, and Clarinex D as well. The decongestants pseudoephedrine and phenylephrine, the active ingredients in plain Sudafed and Sudafed PE, are approved for flight use as long as they are not combined with antihistamines such as diphenhydramine, chlorpheniramine, and brompheniramine. The FAA approves allergy shots, but this kind of treatment should be reported to the FAA during your routine FAA Airman Medical Examination and requires a 24-hour wait after each shot before flying. The FAA also permits airmen to use nasal steroid inhalers. However, The use of potentially sedating antihistamines require that you wait 5 times the dosing interval since your last dose of medication before you fly again. In other words, if the label states, take every 6 hours, you must wait at least 30 hours before flying again. Afrin nasal spray requires a minimum of a 24-hour grounding period after use. Keep in mind that many liquid and inhalant medications contain alcohol, which may produce a positive reading if you take an alcohol breath test. The FARs prohibit airmen from ingesting alcohol in any form, including medications, within 8 hours of flying. Individual airline policies may be stricter. There are too many prescription and over-the-counter options for me to list them all here. Many are prohibited, so play it safe and check with your aviation medical examiner. Remember, the underlying condition that triggers the use of medication may be as dangerous as the medication itself, and also be grounding. If you still have questions, you may contact the ALPA's Aeromedical Office at 303-341-4435 or go to our website at aviationmedicine.com. All calls are strictly confidential.
Thank you, Dr. Snyder. And now it's time to announce the winner of Watch and Win. Congratulations to Timothy Dickerman. You were randomly selected from the correct entries for the last episode. Tim will be entered into the grand prize drawing along with 5 other winners for a chance to win a Sennheiser HMEC 26T headset valued at $850. Now on to this week's question. What 3 airlines were added this week to the Known Crew Member program? Visit our website to submit the answer for your chance to win the Sennheiser headset. Over the last month, we've asked pilots to share their memories of the tragic events of September 11th. Each had their own story to tell and their own moments to share.
We were headed southwest on J75 over Newark when the first tower was hit. I didn't see the impact, but must have looked down about 10 seconds afterwards, as there was a large cloud of smoke over the building, and I could see fire climbing up through the tower.
We landed sometime after 9:30 that morning and deplaned the passengers so we could get them in the terminal and inform them of what was happening. Minutes later, we sadly watched together as the South Tower fell.
The towers were there just the day before, and then they weren't. I had seen the towers as I taxied out, and then they just weren't there anymore.
I knew in that moment that those cowards had hurt my family, shaken their security, and put fear in their minds for the sake of their father, an airline pilot who, save for his schedule, may have been in one of those airplanes.
Every September 11th, everyone remembered and stopped to pay tribute to the lives lost that day. We all love what we do, and in a way, do it for those who can no longer, due to circumstances too tragic to have imagined at one time. No one should ever go to work and not come back home. I will never forget.
Thank you to everyone who submitted their recollections of that morning. To read the testimonials, you can visit ALPA's 9/11 website at www.alpa.org/neverforget9/11. Thank you for joining us here on the Flight Deck. If you have any feedback about this episode, please let us know at FlightDeck@alpa.org. Thanks again, and I'll see you here next month on the Flight Deck.